the voiced lateral click, which is pronounced as ka. And then we do have this one, the teeniest one. So this one, it's not voiced and it's not nasal, so it would be a cha. And then this one, the nasal alveolar click, that is the and then the voiced alveolar click, that will be the and then this one is not nasalized and it's not voiced. It's a tenuous sound. So this would be a sound. And then this would be a tenuous dental click. And this one right here, this would be a voiced dental click. So it would be a and then this one right here, it would be a nasalized dental click, of which it would be a so, but once we do isiZulu phonetics, we're going to zoom into these, and then we're going to look at. So, yes. So these are just examples of the some of the sounds here are found in isiZulu language, but you wouldn't find any of the sounds here in the English language. And then in isiZulu, we do have the adjectives as well. The sounds such as for instance, those are referred to as the adjectives. But we're going to see those once we look at the book Zulu Grammar by Doak, and then we're going to understand this more better. But the most important thing is to take away here is that in phonetics we have what is called the harmonic sounds, which are represented by the IPA chart, but also we do have the non-harmonic sounds, which are represented by this chart right here. The vowel trapezium. So this basically shows us how the vowels are articulated. Okay. So most importantly, how do we measure or how do we describe the articulation of vowels? Okay. How is the articulation of vowels different from the articulation of consonants? Where is the difference there? So in the articulation of consonants, there's more constriction of air or more manipulation, relatively more manipulation of the air within the oral tract. But in vowels, when the vowels are articulated, there's not much constriction of the air within the oral tract. So there's not much manipulation, so to speak, of the air when the vowels are articulated. So when people are saying the vowels, they sort of just maybe like e, there's not much playing around with the articulators in the pronunciation of the vowels. And so the way that we describe the articulation of the vowels, we describe the articulation of vowels in terms of, as you're going to see when you look at that article, there are three categories to describe vowel articulation. One is about the height, that is the vertical position of the tongue within the oral tract. So for some vowels, when they are articulated, you'll find that the tongue is at the top of the oral tract. Sometimes when some vowels are articulated, maybe such as the a, the vowels is in the middle position within the oral tract. So that is to say, for the so-called mid vowels, the tongue is between the top part of the oral tract and the lower part of the oral tract. So some vowels, when they are produced right here, those ones the vowels at the bottom are basically produced, they are lower. They are actually lower. As you can see, yeah, so this low position shows that these vowels are, when they are produced, the tongue is in the lower position within within the oral tract, within the mouth. The vowels that are here at the top, at this part here, these vowels, when they are produced, the tongue is in the upper part of the oral tract, it's in the higher part of the oral tract. When these ones are produced, these ones right here, the tongue is in the middle position of the oral tract. When these ones are produced, the tongue is at the floor of the oral tract, so to speak, also in the lower part of the oral tract. So that's one distinction. But then there's another way in which we use to describe vowels, and that is referred to as, so this will be the vertical position, so height, using height to describe the articulation of vowels. But then there's another criterion in which we use, and that is describing the horizontal position of the tongue, the horizontal position of the tongue. So the tongue in the articulation of the vowels would move, it will sometimes be in the front part of the oral tract. We are referring to, and again, you're gonna see that the tongue has got labels as well. So the tongue is not just one big chunk of muscle, but the tongue is also, it has divisions, so to speak. So the tongue itself has got different parts, okay? So sometimes, as you're gonna see when you read that article, they speak of passive articulators and also of active articulators. So active articulators, the tongue is considered to be an active articulator, and the lower lip is also considered to be an active articulator. But within the tongue itself, there is, so in the tongue, we have the tip of the tongue, we have the front part of the tongue, we have the middle part of the tongue, we have the back part of the tongue. So the front part, the tip of the tongue is the part of the tongue that does the most moving. That's the part that actually moves quite relatively more. The tip of the tongue, or the front part of the tongue, is the part that moves more in speech production, during speech production, than the rest of the. So the tongue is actually quite a big muscle. So it actually goes all the way down here. So it's not only here, closer to the lips, but it goes all the way down here towards the throat, and the back part of the tongue does not necessarily move much during speech production, but the tip of the tongue and the front part of the tongue, that's the part that does most moving. So another criterion that we use to describe vowel articulation is by looking at the horizontal position of the tongue. Okay, so the horizontal position. So this is the vertical position of the tongue. That is top down, bottom up. That's the vertical position of the tongue right here, as we saw here. And then there's the movement from left to right. So that is the horizontal position of the tongue. As you can see, there is a vowel here, but then there's a vowel here, right? So this is the horizontal movement. Okay, so another criterion that we use to identify vowel production is by looking at the vertical movement of the tongue. So some vowels, when they are articulated, the tongue or the tip of the tongue is at the front part of the oral tract. That is, it is near the lips or near the dentals, near the teeth. But then the tongue can also move towards the back of the oral tract, like in the pronunciation, in the articulation of these kind of vowels. So this vowel is here. So this gives us an idea that this vowel is actually articulated relatively, when it's articulated, the tongue is somewhat at the back of the oral tract. And so it's the same thing with this vowel, this one here and this one here. So yes, so these ones we can already see that